Good evening everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for joining me on another behind the shot video. And this one's going to be a little bit of a long one because I'm not going to be editing this and cutting it down. I'm literally going to do a one take video here. And I want to talk about this photo shoot that I did with this model in Nottingham. I want to go through my thinking behind the shoot, when I was actually on location, why I was composing images and changing my viewpoint the way I did, and what my overall thinking was behind the shoot. Now, first of all, time of day is obviously going to be extremely important when you're working with natural light outside, right? Time of day, and not only time of day, but the weather. Because if you're going to be working with soft light during the middle of the day, what you are really going to need is cloud coverage, and ideally an overcast day, because essentially the clouds are going to act like a big softbox and they're going to be filtering and diffusing the sunlight, right? But if you want to go with drama and you want to create contrast and you want to create depth, and you also want to create an image which looks dynamic, then your quality of light needs to be harsh, right? It needs to be hard. Essentially, you're going to have to work on a day where the sun is out in the sky and there's not much cloud coverage, right? Now, I very much like shooting outside in the hard light. I love shooting in hard light because I know with hard light you get contrast, you get shadows, deep shadows, you get this sense of dimensionality. It's a wonderful light to work in. But there are obviously some challenges, and you have to work with the light rather than against the light. Now, I know many people like to shoot outside around about golden hour, blue hour, and so forth, because they want a softer, more flattering type of light. And that's totally fine depending on the shoot that you're doing. And they might feel a little bit daunted with working with hard light. And hopefully in this video, I'm going to try and go through a few tips and techniques that might give you more confidence to actually go out there and shoot in the hard light. Before we actually get into my process, cover a couple of fundamentals. These are fundamentals for art and design, and they also apply to photography. And what I'm really getting at here are the formal elements of art and design. 7 major elements. We have line, color, space, shape, form, texture, and value. And these building blocks, you could say, are the ingredients to any visual image, whether it's a painting, a drawing, whether it's a photograph. With photography, we're working in a very interesting medium because essentially, like a painting or like a drawing, we are trying to create the illusion of three-dimensionality. Essentially, we're trying to create the illusion of form, okay? In a painting, an artist will use their paintbrush, they will use their pencil, and they will draw, and they will create, and they will shade, and they will try and create the illusion of form. Now, as photographers, forms are already in the environment in front of us. All essentially we are doing is we are capturing them, right, through the camera. But we can use the same principles that painters and artists use when they are trying to create a strong feeling of form. Now, we have to do that just as they do through the use of light and dark, essentially through the use of value. So let's just jump over here to Photoshop very quickly, and I just want to explain to you what we mean by when we talk about value. Okay, so here I'm just going to shade out some values. Okay, and I'm using a Wacom tablet here and pen, and there's a little bit of a lag because I'm screen recording as well, so just don't mind that. Okay, so these are values of light and dark. In other words, these are tonal values. We have everything from black all the way through to white, and then in here we have a full range of grey values. And this will be similar when you're actually looking at a histogram image on the back of your camera. You've got your shadows, and then you'll have your highlights here. Yeah, shadows and highlights. Now, if we have a full range of values within a scene, within a drawing or within a painting, that's going to take us towards that sense of realism, right? Because when we look at things with our eyes, we see that entire dynamic range, essentially, that entire value scale of light and dark. We see it with our eyes, right? Now, when we're shooting in the soft light, these values here, the dark, deep blacks, you know, whether it's shadows or something else in the environment, these are generally fairly absent. The strong highlights as well, these are pretty much absent as well. We tend to focus more in this middle grey area. Everything is a lot more subdued, it's a lot more flattering, it's a lot more softer, right? The level of contrast, which is the difference between the darkest and the lightest area. So you can have a high contrast scene, which means you've got a lot of blacks and you've got a lot of lights or whites, and you don't have much in the middle. So this would be an example of a high contrast image if we looked at it on the histogram. You only achieve that when we're using hard light. So if you want to achieve that high contrast look, you're not going to be able to do it when you're working with soft light. So what we are wanting to do is we are wanting to use value to create the illusion of form. Okay, so form is what we're trying to create, and form relates to three-dimensionality, right? Shape is different because shape is related to two-dimensional, right? So this is a shape. It's a series of lines that create a shape. It's 2D. Shapes are 2D. Forms are 3D. Now these can actually be real forms, i.e. you can pick something physically up off a table, you can feel it in your hand, or it can be implied form. And this is what we as photographers and artists do. We imply the illusion of form, and we do it through the use of value and tone. Let me just demonstrate that for you right now. I'm just going to select a regular hard basic brush. I'm going to make sure it's set to 100%, which it is. And I'm just going to create a new layer, and I'm just going to drop that there. So if we look at that right now, that is a shape. There is no scale of value. We've just got one value. It's just black. It's just a black hole, right? Now I'm going to select a soft brush, and I'm going to pick the color white, and I'm going to reduce the opacity by 30%. I'm just going to click here. And then I'm going to click again, and I'm going to click again, and click again, and I'm going to click one more time, right? Now, if you look at that, that essentially now has an illusion of form. It has an illusion of three-dimensionality. And we've done that by adding in the light. Yeah? And now you can see we've got a range of values from this light grey all the way through to black. Now, if I keep clicking here, I can actually make this pure white and essentially make this even more high contrast and create something like this. Okay? So you'll see now we've got the illusion of form. Now we can go a little bit further. I'm going to drag a blank layer underneath. I'm going to get my marquee tool. I'm going to set that to black, and I'm going to just draw out an ellipse here. And I'm going to fill that with black. Okay? And I'm going to move this guy. So basically I've created what you could call as a shadow, right? It's not perfect, but you get the idea. We've created a shadow. And the shadow obviously places our form within an actual space now. So the use of value is extremely important if we want to create the illusion of form. And we want to do that when we're working with hard light. We want to create the illusion of form, and we want to create the illusion of depth and three-dimensionality. Okay, so hopefully those principles are quite clear. And let's go back over to the actual photo shoot right now. And now you're looking at this image on the right-hand side. You will see the values that we've used in order to create the illusion of form. Now, granted, this picture has been edited. We have worked with contrast, and we've made it monochrome. And in the next video, I'm going to go through the whole process of how I take an image from a normal colored flat image that's been shot in the camera. I say flat in the sense a raw image, and then I increase the contrast and I create an image which has more drama. I'm going to show you that in the next video. So let's just have a look at this shoot. Right, so let's backtrack a little bit. I'm working with this model. We've gone to Nottingham. Her name's Gemma Hadley, amazing model. I will tag her down below, so if you want to work with her, I suggest you do. She's freelance. And we worked in her hometown, Nottingham, and that's where I actually studied at university. Picked a day where I knew the sun would be out. Want to work with shadows, highlights. I want lots of value in there, and I want to create drama, right? So I'm walking around the city, and I'm looking for architectural elements that I can frame the model against, right? This is a city fashion shoot. I personally, and I'm sorry if I offend anyone here, but I personally cannot stand those photo shoots where you have a model stood in the middle of the street and all the background's blurred and she's just standing there. And it's purely about her and it's just bokeh in the background. Everything's out of focus, right? I appreciate some people like that aesthetic. Me, I've never shot like that and I don't shoot like that. I hate that. If I'm going out in the city, if I'm going out in the street, man, I want to be using the street. I want to be using the city to my advantage. That's just my style, right? So if we have a look at this image on the right-hand side, you can see we're using the rule of thirds, right? We've got her on a rule of thirds. We're also using leading lines. We've got a line coming down here pointing towards her. And we've got these lines above, here, here, and here. And what they're doing is they're obviously framing the subject. She's framed within a section of light. Now, if I had the model sat here, and I was over here, she'd be framed against this dark grey. You can see her leg and this part is. She'd be framed against that dark grey. She would not be standing out against the background. Remember, we're looking for contrast. So you can't get more contrast than black and white. I know this is not pure white, but it's very light. So by putting her in this scene, by putting her or framing her within this area, asking her to move further down, I'm actively trying to put her in an area where I know she will stand out. Okay, so that's what I've done in this scenario. And she's looking off to the distance. And obviously I've come low and I've shot up. Why am I coming low and shooting up? Because I want to create more drama. I want to create a sense of power. I want to create a sense of scale. And obviously the vertical lines are kind of tapering upwards. But, you know, I like that. I'm not straightening everything out. I don't mind a dynamic diagonal line. Diagonal lines create a dynamic feel within your composition. So that's what I've done in that shot, right? She's framed over here. You get the idea. Okay. Let's look at another picture just from this area. So imagine I'm here and I've took this shot, right? And then I've asked her to pose differently and I've moved around. So the next shot, let's just go over here. I've come out a little bit wider and this is in color. Okay, so another shot that I really like. I really like the grade of this. It worked really well. And I will go through this in another video. But once again, we're doing the same thing. Okay, she's leaning up against this area of light. We're working with the shadows. We've got a rule of thirds going on. And there's a nice simplicity to it. Nothing is distracting. Everything is kind of leading you towards the subject. Same thing, we've come around a little bit now and we've shot this again. Where were your eyes attracted to straight away? You look at the face, right? Which is obviously generally what you want. And then we move down and so forth. Now I could be picky and say, oh, I see a little bit of a hand, that looks a bit weird, and there's a little bit thing going on in the chest here, and you know, there's a little bit of a shoe here, and whatever. But you get the idea here. We're working with the environment. Okay? Now let's move on and have a look at another image. Let's just take this one. Okay. So let's just talk a little bit about how to work with hard light and a model. So the sun is glaring at this time of day. It is bright. It is bright. So I'm asking the model to keep her eyes closed. And I'm doing that because I don't want to blind her. And there's a certain aesthetic and a certain atmosphere and a certain mood that you can achieve when the model is closing her eyes, right? So that's what we've got. Her eyes are closed. Notice her chin. It's a little bit high. We're doing that because we want to make sure that the light is coming into the face. Her chin is a little bit high, so the light is hitting her in the face. Here's another example. Okay, chin high, light is filling her eye sockets, right? Because we know the raccoon eyes. Okay, we're getting it a little bit here, but it's not too bad. You ask the model to tilt her chin up, raccoon eyes disappears. And what you get is, again, you get this mood. You get this feeling. Eyes closed, chin up, head tilted. And look at this wonderful deep shadow underneath her neck. And I love how her black outfit disappears into the black at the bottom. Now, I say black outfit. That was not by chance. That was a conscious decision. I said I want you all in black. I want you with a blazer and I want you with some kind of trousers. She didn't have trousers, but she had these leggings, and it was fine. Because I knew I was going to go monochrome afterwards. And I wanted black with her clothing because I knew that would create contrast, especially if I put her in an area where there is a pocket of light, just like there is here. So this was planned and it was executed and it worked. So here we go with another one. Here's another example. We're working with the space, and notice the background is not as light as the previous one. But she still stands out. Why? Because the sun is hitting her and it's illuminating her face, right? And then we've worked in Photoshop, we've worked in Lightroom, we've darkened some areas a bit more, we've brought out a bit more light, but we've not done anything that actually destroys the reality of the picture that was captured in camera. In fact, again, we're just complementing it with the edit, and we will go through that another time. So you see I shoot landscape. I like to shoot landscape. I like to shoot portrait. Position, posture is working well. And again, I'm trying to avoid things being too distracting. So you can see here, we've got this line running down here. Now I could have put her in the middle of that line and the line would have been coming out the back of her head, right? Or I could have had the line more over here. But I've tried to always think about what is going on in the background. And I'm doing this subconsciously. And it happens over a period of time when you're working with people. You look at the whole frame, you look at the corners, you look at the background, you look at the foreground. You're constantly, your eyes are traveling all over the frame. Let's move on and look at one of my favorite pictures from this set. Yeah. You know that picture is sick, right? How nicely is it working? Okay, so first of all, we're walking down the stairs, we're on our way to another location. I see a triangle of light on the wall. Perfect. Get in that triangle, right? Move the model into the light, finding the light, right? You find the light and then you place the model in the light. And once you place the model in the light, then you decide the angle at which you're going to capture her. Now I wanted to create more of a sense of depth, all right? So in this shot here, you can see we've got the railing, it goes up and over, the stairs go over, and essentially here, this pocket of light, I'm coming in from an angle, so I've got a diagonal line. Diagonal lines create drama. We've got a diagonal, and that creates a triangle. We've got a triangle within a triangle, okay? Her head, chin, ear creates another triangle. Her arm to her wrist and her hand to where the banister starts and goes back up, we've got another triangle. Okay, so we're working with these triangles and it's framing the model within the scene. Now her chin is up, her shoulder is popped forward, it looks a bit uncomfortable, it looks a bit awkward, but we're working with diagonals. And I asked her to move her arm back a little bit more, until this arm was parallel with this banister. That didn't happen by chance, that was directed, because I wanted that continuity. Okay, so there's a lot of little things going on in that shot. All right, let's move on and have a look at another one. This is the same area here. The little bit further down, the light was coming down. I quite liked it. It wasn't the best shot, but I did like it. This one I really liked because it had a bit of a narrative to it, right? So first of all, banister, the light now is essentially backlighting. And you're looking at the clouds in the sky and thinking, this should be a cloudy day. Well, the sun was popping in and out of the clouds. We started getting cloud coverage. And I was like, damn, we're going to lose the sun. But what I realized was the sun was breaking through. and it was just creating little shafts of light. And you can see right here, we've got a bit of backlight going on. And it's creating this rim light, this edge highlight. And that's nice because it carves out the model. But at the same time, it's putting her face into darkness, which adds a little bit of drama. I love how these guys at the top kind of minding their own, this guy's looking down, what's going on. And it's a very kind of in-the-moment shot. It's like a no entry sign. Why is she stood here? He's checking this out. He's faceless as well. The rim light is carving him out. And then again, we're working with these shapes. I've placed her in this section. There isn't anything distracting, you know. There's a lot going on in the background. We're using a relatively deep depth of field. I'm not blurring the hell out of the background. Okay, I'm keeping the depth of field. If I right click, I don't even know, image information. No, I've removed it. I think I must have been shooting at least f4, f5.6. So I really like that shot. And then I came in for a landscape one. And I love this as well, right? I love the expression. I love the edit, because I have obviously edited the picture and I've added a grain to it. And I really like the grain. It looks like film. And I love, again, the fact we've got a triangle. We've got a triangle. We've got her perfectly framed within this section. Her shoulders are kept within the concrete at the back. She's not coming out. Her head's not hitting the railing. I'm purposefully, moving myself around and almost, moving her right into the place that I want her to be. And I really love it, And I've left the wispy hair here. I've left a little mark on the leg. I want the picture to be raw, man. And that's the way it came out. Sick shot. Now, look at this one. This wasn't perfect. It wasn't great. I tried this idea where I tried to perfectly frame her face just in this little shaft here of light, or this kind of flat element here. And it's not bad. It works all right, but it's not the best. But again, it was something I tried to edit it. Here I've come down low, looking up. Again, we're working with light. We've got raccoon eyes, but you know what? I like it, man. I like that drama. Now we've got some serious raccoon eyes, and here she's tilted her head to the side. These are not the best. This one I really liked. I love the dark eyes, worked well. I love the shadows that are appearing here on the surface. Again, we've got some nice diagonals going on. This one I really liked as well. She's kind of just looking off, like doesn't give a damn. Here we're obviously, again, we're going a bit wider. We've got on the stairs. We're working with the rule of thirds. We're working with vertical lines. We're working with shape. And we've got this shadow of this big lamp here. And it looks like some kind of flying saucer. It's a bit random. This one, again, it wasn't the best. This one worked quite nice. It's getting later on in the day. She's had a change of clothes. The light's filtering through. And then, we also did some shoots where we got her dressed up in a bit more of a casual outfit here. And we've got a tree in the background that's dropping dappled light into the background, which was a graffiti piece. So you've got these little pockets of light. And again, her chin is a little bit high. We're working with the light. We're working with the dramatic shadows on her leg. Everything. It just looks sick, man. I love this kind of look. I really do. Here, a little bit more casual again. We've had a clothing change. It's a bit softer in the sense that her posture's a bit softer, but we're still working with the dark background, and the dark background is occurring because we are underexposing the image a little bit, and the areas that are in direct light are going to be her face, and her face is obviously lighter than the background because it's skin. She's fair-skinned, so you're going to pick up the light. This has picked up the light. This has picked up the light. But look how she's framed wonderfully, and I love this shadow that's occurring from this metal post here right across the face. Here I've moved over around to the right hand side. Didn't like this picture as much. This one was quite nice. I love the light quality on her face here. This one's a little bit awkward. The wrist is a bit bent. Chin looks a little bit forced. Not too happy with that one. But notice I'm critical of what I'm doing, and I'm also looking back at the pictures that I edited, and I'm looking back and I'm thinking, I don't even know why I bothered with that one. That one and that one I'm not feeling. This one I like, love that one, and I really like that one. And there was another one of her sat on a swing, and I don't know where that is, but it was a nice one. So this is kind of, this is the shoot. And these are just some of the pictures. Now, in the next video, I'm going to go through the way I edited the pictures. And I'm going to show you my technique for creating drama using monochrome editing and also using a plugin. And I'm going to be using Nick Color Effects. So if you've got that, brilliant, you can follow along. If you haven't, I suggest you buy it. I'm just thinking, is there anything else I want to tell you about? Any more tips and tricks? Model posing is critical, right? You're working in hard light. You're working with dramatic shadows and highlights. Make sure the model is posing in a way that complements the light, that complements her clothing. Look at what she's wearing. A black leather biker type jacket, hot shorts and an open kind of lingerie vest. I'm not going to have her stood there looking pretty, hand on hips, a little tilt to the head the other side and a cute smile. And she's making very little eye contact. She does not care. So the posing and the posture wants to complement the outfit, the lighting, the environment. Run down city, concrete, metal, right? It's grungy. So make sure the posing's grungy. She's powerful here. Her arms are out. She's confident. You know, she's squatting down here. It's not a pose you might think of. You know, here it's a little bit softer, but it kind of works. You know, it's nice. Here I love this, the knee up. We've created another little triangle, triangle, triangle. Here, arms down, head up. Here, hand on the head, moving across, arms out. And we're ensuring that when she's posing with her arms, and this is important as well, when she's posing with her arms, I'm trying to ensure that for some shots, not all, her arms are away from her body because I want to create the gaps. I want to create the gaps, right? A good example here, we want to create the gap, the gap, the gap. Similar here, pocket and a pocket, right? We want to create that shape. The limbs will look longer, she will look taller. A lot of shots I did from a lower angle, below eye level, okay? Obviously, eye level. But where I want it to look really powerful, I'm going below eye level. And there's times when I want it to look small, so obviously I'm shooting wider, I'm shooting from above. So this is just a few images that I took on the day. I've probably waffled on a little bit, and this is going to have been longer than my normal videos, but I wanted it to be quite organic, and I wanted it to kind of be one of those videos where my ideas come to me as I'm actually talking to you, but I'm remembering things about my decision-making process. So thanks again for watching. Watch out for the next video, right? I'm going to show you some wicked editing techniques. I'm going to show you how you create this look. Thanks again, guys. Leave a comment, hit that like. I'll see you next time.